FEMA. We're going to talk about FEMA. All right. So it has been announced. They've been talking about it pretty much since Trump got in. It's been announced that they are disbanding FEMA after this hurricane season. Now, I've had some not so wonderful encounters with FEMA. I think it needs to be revamped, but we have to have something in that location or something in that placement. Even if it falls under Homeland Security, it was kind of a little redundant with how it was put under Homeland Security, and I'm not sure how it fit into that. But so what are your thoughts about the disbanding of FEMA? And
it's like so much of what's going on now. It's penny wise and pound foolish. It's going to cost more in the long run if they do it that way. But I think there needs to be a better integration of FEMA with private insurance, because I think there's some big issues there and gaps there. And, it's the left-hand, right-hand situation. But, I've been involved in FEMA and hurricanes up north when, cities got flooded, Superstorm Sandy. And, and you get into a technical issue with it, whether it was a hurricane or not, but be that as it may, FEMA was pretty good there. The adjusters were Johnny on the spot. They covered most of the stuff that I had an issue with, including my basement. I was pretty impressed with that. Of course, your comic books and baseball cards are face value. So my 10-cent comic books, because they were old,
10 cents.
right. And they were all gone.
Instead of getting the actual value if you sold it retail.
Yeah. So, but it happens.
Yeah. And see, and my experience was government to government. And at that time, FEMA was contracted. It still is. They didn't change the process. It's still contracted out.
Right.
And
they're not doing the work themselves.
I think it came down to, you had a good contractor. I did not have a good contractor. And part of my problem was, and this is during the time of when the Charlie, Francis, and Gene all crisscrossed across the state in like 2006. Blake, you can fact check that one for me. I think that was the three names of the, but they all like crisscrossed across the state all in one summer. And I was Parks and Recreation Director, and I was in charge of measuring the amount of tonnage of debris that we had to remove on the beaches and all that. We had to calculate. And because they changed contractors so many times, I had to do it 4 different times. And they didn't pass the information on to the next person. I mean, the first time I kind of gave them all the information, and I didn't,
keep copies.
We were still in the middle of hurricanes. So I kind of rushed and just gave it to them. The second time when they asked for it again, I was like, all right, we're going to scan everything in. And I'm not talking like, 30 pages.
Right.
I'm talking 1,000 pages of documents, of each individual damage and all that.
All right.
And what year was it?
Yeah, so it was 2004. So the
2004.
The 4 hurricanes was Charlie, Francis, Ivan, and Gene.
Yeah, Ivan didn't affect us as much here. That was more of a panhandle thing. So I'm pretty sure it went to the panhandle. But it was Gene, Francis, and
Ivan?
Charlie.
Okay.
Charlie. They crisscrossed across us. That kept me. You were 3 years old at the house, and the one thing I was able to do, even though I didn't go home for like 30 plus days, the power went out, and his mom called, and I was at the EOC. I walked over to the FPL guy, and he's like, "Oh, we'll put you on the list." I was like, "No, you're going to fix it right now because I haven't been home in 30 days, and you're going to fix it." And they took care of it. I have a very good relationship with FPL now.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so
and correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I understand it and the way it worked up in New York, and I'm pretty sure the way it works nationally, is the localities or the states pay the initial and it's a federal reimbursement. So you have to bill the federal government for what you spent, and they'll pay you back, whether there's a dollar for dollar reimbursement or whether there's a formula and you get 80% of what you spent. And a little skin in the game is not bad for anybody. But it gets very expensive.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that Trump's saying is the reason behind FEMA. He wants the state to have a bigger stake in it and not rely. He's saying that certain states just rely on FEMA, and it's like not the way it's supposed to be. I don't think Florida's ever done that. When Katrina hit New Orleans, but it also hit Mississippi.
Yeah.
At the same level. The difference was Florida was used to it,
Right.
and Florida,
Well, that's it. Experience.
and Florida was the support for Mississippi. Texas was the support for Louisiana. So Texas should bear. I mean, all you hear about is the federal government, FEMA dropped the ball, but Texas should have been there a little bit better for Louisiana also, and they literally got like a free pass on it. You never hear anybody say, "Oh, the Texas National Guard dropped the ball on Katrina." Right. Well, that was their next line of support, because a lot of the stuff that was in Louisiana, they didn't have the resources.
Right.
Hopefully, if they do this with FEMA, the states will go, all right, we need to have a little bit saved back and do a better job with their budget.
Yeah. Now, correct me if I'm wrong though, because I'm looking up right here. So basically, so Trump cannot create like an executive order saying like FEMA is dismantled. I believe it still has to go through congressional approval though in order to start the framework of dismantling FEMA.
You know what? They're so liberal with executive orders these days.
Yeah.
I don't. And he has
writes them
Congress,
whether they're legal or not.
He has Congress behind him on this one. So I think the way it's going to look at it's going to end up being a revamping of FEMA. It might come back as something else like emergency services or something along those lines. But
you don't think there's going to be pushbacks from the states that are the poorer states that can't afford to pick up the fee? I mean, the federal government has been pretty good about this for years and years and years. Sometimes they're a little slower, sometimes they're a little faster. But, there are states out there that run very tight budgets, whether they don't have the tax base or the population to handle it. I mean, Florida's got a huge tax base. We got a lot of money.
We have a huge tax base. We have a growing economy because of the residential growth, even though in the last year or two we've kind of fallen off of that. But our budgets compared to Mississippi is not even close.
Right.
Even Alabama or Louisiana, it's not even close.
And I don't know what they have for reserves.
But we're also the one that's at the tip of the spear.
Right. We've got more experience with it than most other states.
So, I mean, if you pull up a chart of hurricanes hit by state, I think you can add up the top 5 other states and still not get to Florida.
Yeah. Right, but it's also
Blake, if you can pull that up.
Yeah, I can pull it up as well. But while I'm doing that, I'm going to ask you a question about flood insurance now because FEMA covers the National Flood Insurance
policy.
Program.
Yeah.
So how do you think that might work now if FEMA gets dismantled or like what so who takes over that now within the government, or will it just be privatized by like another company?
And that's something like that's going to have to get flushed out. I'm sorry about that. Probably not the best term to use there.
Leave the water out of it.
That was not the best term to use right there. But FEMA still covers those that aren't insurable for $250. FEMA doesn't cover if you already have flood insurance. FEMA doesn't come in and say, "Oh, here's your $250."
I don't know if that's correct anymore. I think you have to go through the National Flood Insurance Program nowadays. I don't know if you. I mean, you may be able to get
my flood insurance is independent.
You sure it's not from the National Flood Insurance?
No,
I mean,
it's
you pay a private contractor. You're not paying the government.
No,
but it's underwritten by the feds, I believe.
Oh, I mean, they have criterias, but I don't think it's underwritten by. I mean, if it is, then the government needs to give me some freaking money back. I can tell you that.
No, they just keep raising it up, especially and the closer you live to the water. Hi there.
Yeah, you live actually close to the water, but I'm more flood danger.
Yeah, we're pretty good. Doesn't mean it changes our rates. But FEMA's just more than hurricanes. You have river flooding, you have tornadoes. The Midwest, you got the fires in California was a FEMA issue. When you had entire cities outside of Los Angeles burned.
I'm saying it can't. Something else has to take its place.
Right.
It can't just vanish.
And insurance companies wouldn't be able to. They'd all close up if they had to pay the bajillions of dollars that they would be on the hook for.
No, or they would just push it down like they're doing right now. I mean, the insurance rates. I mean, it literally is to the point on commercial insurance right now. It's like I need to pay off my loan, so I don't have to have insurance.
Right.
Which is horrible.
And then you run a risk. Right.
It's a horrible
Sleep
place
well,
to
don't
be.
you? Yeah.
No, you don't sleep at all.
Yeah.
So all you do is stress out. So
just it's a horrible situation to be in to decide which bill you can pay or have to pay, or what you're eating, or you have a roof over your head. Are you paying for your insurance? Are you driving without car insurance? until if everything's rosy and fine and you don't need to collect on any of it, yeah, it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
But when that other shoe drops, you know, it could be cataclysmic.
Yeah. No, and like I said, we have until December. Something's going to take its spot. It can't just vanish. It can,
Well,
but it's a bad
Right.
thing if it does.
right.
And that's, you know, I don't even think the staunchest Republicans that live on the ocean that don't have insurance don't want that $250,000 when it comes, because you know they're the ones that benefit from it the most here in Florida, and it hurts probably those along the coastlines in areas like Naples and his high donor
Right.
areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something's got to be in its spot.
All right. So I have the statistics here. So Florida was so this is based on last year's hurricane season.
Yeah,
So
I meant overall, but okay, I just want to go last year.
So Florida was like overall the most like impacted state, like the most costly state for hurricanes. But just looking at last year, so Florida had the most hurricanes hit landfall. But when it came to like overall damage, like how much billions of dollars in damage they caused hurricanes last year, North Carolina was the number one state.
That was the mudslides.
Right. And
Yeah.
that was right. That was the rivers in
That
Nashville.
was the rivers and the mudslides that created that. So
Yeah, so North Carolina, then Louisiana, Florida, Alabama, Texas.
yeah, those are dollars of damage.
Yes.
If you can find the stat for actual hurricanes hitting or impacting states for the history,
Landfall of hurricanes.
landfall of hurricanes by state, that number will blow you away. Like how many we've had since they've been recording.
I'm taking the under in Nebraska.
Yeah,
I'm taking the under in Wyoming.
Yeah. So Wyoming. You know, I don't think Arkansas has seen a lot of hurricanes.
No, but they get tornadoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Nebraska gets some too, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah. Nebraska's a wide open prairie.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And they get snow. Wicked amounts of snow.
wicked amounts of snow. Yeah. Wicked is a word that they use in New York.
Yeah,
So that was a Wisconsin,
No, Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
So
Okay.
Florida has the
A
most.
wicked pissa.
Yeah.
So Florida has the most with 120. Texas is 66. Louisiana 56. North Carolina 56, and then South Carolina with 30.
Yeah. Louisiana, like if you do land-wise that's exposed,
Yeah.
you know, that's a pretty high percentage.
Right. What was the time frame on that, Blake?
Time frame of that was since 1851.
Okay.
307 hurricanes have hit the U.S., affecting 19 total states.
So 300 and something have hit, and we're 129 have actually hit Florida.
Yeah.
In 175 years, or
One in every 3 hurricane that touches land hits Florida.
Yeah.
you know, it's a surprisingly smaller number than I would have thought in that time frame.
I thought it was over 200.
Yeah, in that time frame for sure, you would have thought.
And actually, yes, there.
Well, let's not encourage them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
All right. Are we ready to move on? Have we beaten up FEMA enough?
Yeah.
Affirmative.